Hello again, this is Reverend Charles Bay, servant of the Most High God, and I'm here. Let me take my glasses off. I don't like the way they glare on there. I'm going to continue on with evolution and kind of fill in some of the areas that I didn't cover last time. I did make some mistakes last time that I want to correct. One is that it was 1656 years from the time of sin until the flood. I think I said 626. It was 56. What's 30 years among friends? Anyway, I will show you how that went. That was, if we can focus on this, I'll try to get it where it is. That's kind of the way that it goes, and you can see Methuselah down here died the year of the flood on there. Noah was the only one that continued on after that, Ham, Shem, and Japheth on there. All of us started with Adam to Seth, Seth to Enoch, Enosh to Kenan, Kenan to Mahalia to Jared to Enoch. Enoch we talked about. On there was the one that lived 365 years, not days, years. So we call him the year man. But it was basically 365 years that he lived, and then he walked with God, and he was with God, which would have been about 987 years after sin, that type of thing. Anyway, that was just the basics of it. I hope that you can make out enough of that to be able to see what I'm saying and what it was about on there. I want to cover a couple other things that we'll get back to, but the moon, I talked about it being a light, a lesser light, but an actually producing light, not a reflective light. And again, if you were believing in evolution, which a lot of people did at that time, that they went to the moon, they thought that they would run into about 3 to 6 foot of dust. They were very concerned that if they landed that pod down there, that dust would clog the engines and they would never get them going again and get off the moon on there. When they went, they actually found 3 to 4 inches of dust, about enough for maybe 8 to 10,000 years, not the millions of years that they thought that they would have on there. And dust did not present a problem on the moon, because before that it would have burnt up if it had been there. It was a generating light. It was a fusion generating light. I wanted to mention also the dinosaurs that we talk about in the Bible. I believe that some of them were brought on the ark, that some of them existed after the flood, but because the atmosphere was not dense enough for them, they could not breathe. As they got older, they just basically died from lack of oxygen. Suffocated, if you want, because they couldn't live in that less dense atmosphere. Some of them are the lizards that we have today and that have adapted. Okay, in the Bible it does mention dinosaurs. It mentions them in Job, which is the oldest known book of the Bible. Was wrote even before Moses wrote Genesis, and it talks about the different dinosaurs. Job 40:15 through the end of 40, and Job 41 talks about the sea creatures, Leviathan, and that type of thing. Okay, it also talks about unicorns, which we don't find today on there, in Job 39:9. So I wanted you to be aware that the Bible is covering these things, but it doesn't cover them for our benefit. It covers them just so you're aware of them. Okay, now let's talk about evolution. Another thing, they come up with a thing called a geological column. This geological column was supposed to explain evolution. So they use a thing called circular reasoning. Evolution explained the geological column. The geological column explained evolution. The problem with that is there's only one place on Earth that they find that geological column, and it is totally upside down. It happens to be up in Minnesota, and it is totally backwards from the way that they said it. They do not understand that there was a flood. It wasn't layer upon layer upon layer. It was for 1636 years, and then it got all tore apart on there, and the flood caused things that were heavier. Remember, bodies tend to sink, and then they'll bloat and float, and the smaller the animal, the farther down it will be compared to the heavier ones, because they do bloat and float. So there's all of the things that they find today that are truly scientific evidence really go back and explain the flood much better than they explain anything about what they're doing. Now I want to cover in this time, I want to cover some of the things of the earth and the way the earth was. And these are pictures that scientists have come up with. I don't know how much of it we can see or not see, so I'm going to try to put these up there and just let you kind of look at them. We're talking about it being one land mass before the flood. It was all together, one land mass, and all the rest were seas all around it. Okay? Here's another picture, a little lighter, that might be better. It was one that I printed out of that same thing. Let me turn it around the right way. Sorry about that. There we go. Kind of gives you a better understanding of where we are or what it is. Let's turn it around this way so the names will be right side up. There. Eurasia, North America, Africa, South America, Antarctica, Australia. You see all that? All the continents were one continent there. And this was something that the scientists came up with. I didn't come up with it, but they did. And as they separate, I will show you that picture. Let's go over here now, and I want to talk about what the earth looks like. Again, I'm not following their geological column. I'm going to try to follow. Focus, come on, focus. There it goes. All right. If you look at this, up here is our atmosphere. We called it heaven, the firmament. Up this blue line that's up here, that is the water that God separated from the other water and put above them to cause the bad effects of ultraviolet rays and whatever from the sun to be blocked out and diffused on it, so that we have the whole land all the way around. And again, the whole thing is a round earth. But the sunlight that come in kind of went all the way around the earth. Even on the dark side, it was a little pinkish and really wasn't total darkness that we know of. Remember, light is power. Okay? Then we had the crust of the earth, which is the land and the sea that's on the crust of the earth is there. Then under that, there's an upper crust, or a mantle, if you want. Under that was a lower crust and water, and then the tectonic plates. Okay, that was one solid plate that was there, and in that we know from the Bible, and we know from geological studies, is like lava, and it's also where hell exists. Every time it talks about hell, it talks about it being down in the earth, in the center of the earth. Okay, so what happened in when the flood was caused by God? If you go to chapter 7, I'm gonna skip over where he commanded to get on board and take everything. It says in verse 11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month and the 17th day of the month, the same day, watch what happens now, were all the fountains of the deep broke up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Okay, what is he saying? He's saying that whatever caused this started down here at these tectonic plates, and it bust them apart to where pressure from here forced this water that was here all the way up through the top of the crust and all the way up to where it actually hit this firmament up here and busted the firmament. Okay, tremendous power as it happened in several different places on there, and it eliminated the overhead firmament that we had that covered us, that protected the people, and they lived long ages and whatever on there. Now that was no longer going to be there. It came crashing to earth as water. The water from the deep came up and broke all of this apart, so that the land itself was being broke apart. That's what happened during the flood. Now, if you look at this, and I'll try to, again, get this to where I can focus it up here a little bit. You can see these are the steps that they saw it doing as these tectonic plates started separating themselves and forcing themselves apart to where they become all the way down here and more like what we have today here. But it was a process. And how do I know that it was a process? Well, if you go on here, you will find out that in the Bible it talks about let me back up. Holy Spirit's kind of stopping me. It says that verse 12, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. That means it continued to rain. Let me bring this back up. It continued to rain 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, bringing all this water down from above and all the water from above to where it covered the entire world. Was covered. A lot of people don't want to believe that, but that's true. The entire world, as it was in the beginning, in the very beginning, the water covered the entire world. It now covers the entire world. Okay? In the self-same days entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives and sons of them into the ark, and they and every beast after their kind. Again, he's still saying after their kind. We're not talking about species to species. We're talking about each one being their own species. Each couple represented that species. Okay? After their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. Brought baby dinosaurs on, I believe, and other reptiles, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went into went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, whereas in the breath of life. In other words, anything that couldn't live in the sea had to be brought onto there, at least the basic species of it. Okay? And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded. Notice they didn't bring male and male, because male and male can't reproduce. Female and female can't reproduce. It takes a male and a female to reproduce, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Verse 17. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the water. And the waters prevailed exceedingly above the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heavens were covered. Everything was covered with water. Now think about this. He's in a huge ship, 450 feet long, okay, maybe 100 feet wide. The point is, there was no rudder. There was no steering column. There was no way to make that boat go anywhere you wanted to go. You were at the mercy of wherever it floated, trusting in the God that told you to make it. Okay? Okay. Verse 20. 15 cubits upward did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered. 15 cubits, 15 times 18. Does anybody know what that is? I'm going to real quick do that. 15 times 18 would have been 270 feet. 270 feet, or inches, 270 inches. We need to divide that by 12, don't we? Divided by 12. So 22 and a half feet above the highest mountain even is where it goes. 15 cubits upward did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered. So it was covered by at least 22 and a half feet everywhere. All right? The boat, as heavy as it was, would have floated over all the mountains. Okay? And all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all but those that are in the ark. Okay? And that's mankind again. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died. Fish didn't, it wasn't talking about a fish die, it wasn't talking about the Even Leviathan that we talked about dying, because they could survive in the water. They had gills. They could breathe the water and get the oxygen out of it. We're not talking about them dying. We're talking about the people or anything that breathes fresh oxygen straight, like mankind and animals. All right? And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and creeping things, fowls of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days after it stopped raining. So he's already been in there at least 190 days, probably closer to 200. Okay? Now, I can go on and tell you how it dried up and whatever, but for the sake of time, I'm trying to move on, and I don't want to deal with that just yet. I want to cover something here. Yeah. Okay, in Chapter 11, I'm going to have you skip over a little bit, and I'll come back to it. In Genesis 11 and 19, nobody wants to read the genealogies and all of the times and whatever on there, but if you work this back, you'll find that it's about 400 years after the flood, okay, that we're talking about now, where verse 19 says, and Peleg lived after he begot Reuel 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Let's back up. 18. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reuel. Oh, I need to back that up farther. 17. 16. Okay. Verse 16. Chapter 11, verse 16. And Eber lived 430 years and begot Peleg. And Peleg lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begot sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reuel. And Peleg lived after he begot Reuel 209 years and begot sons and daughters. On there. Well, Peleg, the word Peleg in the original was meant the earth was divided. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you that this Bible says that 400 years after the flood, then the land itself that we talked about here, this land started separating. On there, not the first picture there so much as the second. You see this picture here? That one right there shows it divided. Well, that took about 400 years before they started dividing. And what happens is people are on this continent, and people are on that continent, and people are on that continent, and as it continues on, see, it starts here, breaking apart. Earthquakes happening, it's breaking apart, they're moving away, and these tectonic plates float around to where they get here. What's happening today on there? Well, if you look at this down here, what's actually happening today, come on, move my, there I am. What's actually happening today is the tectonic plates are hitting against each other because they floated as far as they can float without running into each other the other way, and so now these plates are hitting each other, and every time they hit each other, they build up pressure and produce earthquakes. And we are now living in a time, a very end time, where these earthquakes are increasing and increasing. I want you to be aware that everything that God says in the Bible fits into what today is doing. Don't let people fool you that it's not evolution. Things aren't continuing as they were. They were all produced by this flood, and we're living in the disasters that the flood caused way back then. All right, I'm going to back us back up now. We've still got 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go on here. Verse 8. It says here, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters. The word I have is assuaged, but what it means is they started being soaked up and going into their places where they were going to be, and dry land. It says the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters were abated. In other words, after 150 days, 190 or better now on there, but 150 since it stopped raining, now that water's drying up and dry land is starting to come out. And if you read on, Noah sent out birds, and some came back and some didn't, and finally one came back with a leaf, and he knew that he could get out of the ark. Okay, verse 11, and the dove came in to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. Not all the earth, just some of it. Okay, but enough and long enough off some of it that it actually grew an olive tree, that there was an olive branch there. Okay, verse 12, and he stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. He knew that now the bird could survive on her own out there, that the water was abated enough that they could get out and survive. Okay, verse 13, and it came to pass in the 601st year, that's 601st year of Noah's life. No longer is he relating back to sin, but they're relating Noah's life here. 601st year, in the first month and the first day of the month. Remember, they went in the 600th year, the first month, or second month, and the 17th day. Now it is the first year, and the first, it was in the 600th year. Now it's in the first year, the first month. So it was the second month of the year. So it was almost a full year that they were actually in there. Okay, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up. Were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And it was the second month on the 7th day, and the 27th month was the earth dried. So just about 1 year that all this took place. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth from the ark, you and your wives, and your sons wives with you. Bring forth with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. He's telling them the same thing he told them back in Genesis. Replenish the earth, continue to fill the earth with your kind. Okay? And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wives and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kind, went forth out of the ark. Again, no intermingling of species, even while on the ark. Okay? And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took every clean beast and every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing I have done. While the earth remains, this is one of God's main laws, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter. They never had cold or hot before the flood. They never had summer and winter and seasons before the flood. Remember, they had that firmament over them, and it protected them from all that stuff. And year round, it was like, well, I guess kind of like California is, with 70-degree weather most of the year. Okay? Did not rain upon the earth before this rain happened on there. So they weren't used to any of this, but he's putting into effect a new law. These are the laws of thermodynamics. What are the laws of thermodynamics? They are the laws of continuance. And he's putting them into effect now. Now, for the first time, the laws of thermodynamics were effective. The ones that the scientists try to base everything on were just now happening after 1636 years of sin. Did it again. 1,656 years, excuse me. Okay? But he's putting into effect seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. What's he saying? The planet's going to continue to rotate. The planet's going to continue to rotate around the sun. All of those things. Okay? All right. I'm going to go into chapter 9 and get started with it. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That word replenish means, again, a continually doing this. Putting people on the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every fowl of the air. Okay, now, the ones that they used to play with, the ones that never were in danger of them, and they were never in danger of, and I'm talking about all of them, the snake, the lion, the dinosaur, people were not afraid of, and they weren't afraid of us. They were not carnivorous. They did not eat meat before this time. They only ate vegetables and trees and plants and things like that before the flood. Now he's putting into effect this, that there will be fear of us for every beast upon the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon everything that moveth on the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. In other words, you can take them, but they will be afraid of you, so they're going to run from you. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat to you. Now he's giving them the ability to eat meat. All right? I want to cover something here very quickly, and we're probably going to have to stop here. Before the flood, they never ate meat. The meat that they had was all fruits and vegetables and plants and that type of thing on there, and they were very sensitive to the spiritual realm. Okay? After the flood, the vegetation was not going to have the vitamins that it had. They were not going to be able to support themselves anymore on just fruits and vegetables because they wouldn't be as nutritious. And also, he wanted to stop Satan from coming in and invading everything that man did. So he put a law to put the meat, and for some reason, and I do not understand it, but for some reason meat doesn't allow you to be as sensitive spiritually as whatever. That's part of the reason that he put into effect fasting. Again, we'll cover that more in later days. It says, verse 3, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herbs that I have given you all things. But flesh with the life therein, which is in the blood thereof, shall you not eat. Do not eat the bloody flesh, the raw flesh that has blood in it. Do not eat blood or drink blood. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. Meaning the beasts are going to try to kill you. A lion will try to kill you now. A dinosaur will try to kill you now. Okay? And at the hand of man. At the hand of... And man's trying to kill animals too. Right? At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of a man. Whoso sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. What does he put into effect? He's put into effect the law that says that you shall not murder. Okay, we get the 10 Commandments way back there, but here it is right here in the very beginning, right after the flood. On there, in other words, thou shalt not murder. If you murder, it doesn't say thou shalt not kill. It says thou shalt not murder. If you murder somebody, then your blood is required at the hands of whoever the avenger is in that family, as we find out later, or by a jury of your peers. The government can do it, those type of things, okay? He's actually establishing the laws of government here, okay? For in the image of God made he man, and you be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah and to Noah's sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and your seed after you, and every with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl of the air, of the cattle, of every beast of the earth with you. He's doing what we call the Noahic covenant after the flood, when our atmosphere now is a times one like we have today. Okay, and the start of everything that we see today. Going on, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the entire earth. There are floods, but none of them cover the entire earth. Okay, and I'm about out of time. I'm going to try to finish up this paragraph. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature is with you for perpetual generations, continually, from now on. Okay? And I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of the covenant between me and the earth. Well, before the flood, all the rays of the sun didn't come through directly. They were blocked out. Now they come through directly, and being in the moisture in the air and whatever produces the different colors of the rainbow. So now God has produced the rainbow. Okay? And it shall come to pass when you bring a cloud over the earth, and the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of my covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Okay, that finishes the paragraph. We'll start at verse 18 of chapter 9 next lesson. This was lesson 5, so that'll be in lesson 6. Again, go back and study it for yourselves, read it for yourselves. It really covers everything you need to know about creation and about the flood and the disaster of the flood and why the flood came. God bless you. Have a great day.